Hi everyone, my name is Nikki and I'm handling sales from MRDC. So although I'm new to the market research industry, I have already noticed the amount of activity in the industry and how the business is growing right now. So the service that market research company is offering, what are the trends and the overview of a market research. So the companies, as I see, they sell products and services, and I learn more about their current customers and target audiences through market research. And I also learn how to use market research to learn more about their business, reputations, brands, and other aspects of their organizations. Now, however, the onset of the coronavirus outbreak as of the moment worldwide is certain to affect every business in some way. Now, today, I'm asking Phil Hearn, who is with me right now. He is the director of MRDC Software and who has worked in the market research industry for over 40 years from now, about what he thinks the effect will be on how the industry will respond to this pandemic. Now, I have here Phil.
Hi
Hello.
there. Hello there. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you today, Phil?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Still keeping well, I'm glad to say.
That's good to hear now. And anyway, Phil, I have a few questions for you, and I'm very sure that you can answer this. Okay. Now, if I can start, Phil, by asking how you see the coronavirus outbreak affecting market research in the next year.
Okay, I thought that might be your first question, and I'm slightly scared because you said you think I might have some answers for you. I mean, I think it's the question we all want to answer, and if I'm honest, I guess it's too early to say at this stage until we know how long this is going to go on and how problematic it's going to be. It's very difficult, and I think one of the problems talking to other business leaders that are in the industry and outside it as well is that we've never seen a situation like this before. So we've not been in a situation where large chunks of business have had to just shut down. We've been through recessions, but nothing like this before. So that makes it very hard to predict what's going to happen next. And there's some people I think who are sort of putting their head in the sand, as I would almost say it, sort of just sort of hoping it goes away one day and then we'll restart and do our best when it restarts the world again, as it were. But I think that there's a need actually to be very active at the moment and really think about where we're going and what can be done so that we are in a strong position when this will obviously all finish at some point. And I do feel really sorry for some of those businesses that are really badly affected, and you know that affects a whole range of businesses. I don't believe there's any business out there, whether they're big or small, that doesn't feel that this coronavirus epidemic is really not going to affect them. Small businesses are obviously vulnerable. But I think there's also a lot of bigger and quite good businesses that may be on an expansion program at the moment where they're perhaps they're financially they're stretched and they're going to have to rein back on perhaps what they're doing at the moment, which will leave them very vulnerable. And as we do an awful lot of work in Asia Pacific particularly, with a lot of clients there, I'm very aware that in Asia, in some countries like Indonesia, Thailand, and I think Vietnam, over 50% of market research is carried out by pen and paper interviews, and that just can't be done at the moment. So I think it's too early to say, but it's going to have a huge impact. But I think we need to, as an industry, to be thinking about ways that we can do our best, because that's all you can do to come through this.
Yeah, I agree, because this is the first time we experience this kind of crisis. But I am very sure that every business right now can cope up on this crisis very, very soon. All
Yep.
right, now, thank you for that, Phil. Anyway, which businesses do you think will be most effective as of the moment for this?
Yes, I mean, as I sort of say, I think certainly, obviously, those that are more financially stable are obviously going to be more in a position to pull through. I think that sort of goes without saying, and that's true of any recession or any problems in the markets. Clearly, there's some market research agencies that specialize in particular sectors, and if that sector is hit more than others, they're going to be obviously very vulnerable. So things like travel and tourism are pretty much ground to a halt at the moment. I'm sure they'll restart in the future, but how quickly they'll be wanting to spend money with market research agencies is very unclear, and how many of them will survive is unclear. So I do think companies in market research that specialize in particular markets could be very, very vulnerable. And I think the survivors, and perhaps that's not to answer who will be most affected, but the survivors will be the most financially stable, and those with the most innovative ideas to change things or do things more cost effectively, or to get their business in the right shape, what it needs to be when we come out the other side of this. I think there's a tendency at the moment from some companies to sort of freeze. I watched a particularly good podcast, which I'd actually commend to everybody in any business, actually, nothing to do with market research here. There's a lady called Janet Murray at janetmurray.co.uk who, I think she's an ex-journalist, and she's about writing content, but addressed the subject of whether you should keep selling and marketing in this particular period that we're going through at the moment. And she had two messages I took from her podcast, which I say everyone I think should have a look at because it's worth watching, is that don't freeze, do something, try to get some things together for the future, prepare things that you might be able to offer in the future that are new, different, better. Use it as an opportunity, but freezing is the one thing you shouldn't do. It should be actually looking for ways to get your message out. And I think as a company, I think when the first lockdown happened in the UK, I think my first reaction was to freeze for a few days. I'd like to say I was considering what the options were, but I think there was a tendency for a lot of people to freeze. But I think it's important to actually go on from that and start to think about how you can sell and market during this period, and come up with ideas, because I don't think it's, some people are sort of saying it's a bad thing to sell and market at the moment. Actually, it's a good opportunity to get a message out. And yes, you need to be sensitive and so on. But I think, there's no, at the end of the day, we want the market research industry to thrive again. So, the more we can do to keep the wheels of market research moving, it's got to be a good thing. So, I think the businesses that try to address the problems now will do better than those that just sort of say, well, let's shut down and worry about it all when we come back, whenever that is in the hopefully near future.
Okay, great. But do you think business that work from home is really effective right now?
But I think
What do you
working from I missed that, Nikki. Say that question again.
Do you think business that are working from home is really effective right now?
I think yes, I think it is generally. I think it's different, but communication now, if this had happened 20 years ago, it'd have been a bigger problem because we didn't have the communications that we do now. But people are getting very comfortable at exchanging information online, communicating online, and I think many businesses can survive by working at home. I think different people are able to work at home better than others. There's some people, and that might be because they've got distractions around their house with children, older people, whatever else it might be. But I think some people are very good at working on their own, and other people, do need people around them to get the buzz, if you like, have an office. But we're having to make do at the moment, and I think it's a good thing to actually almost like trial this, because I think it will change attitudes, and in the future I think people will want to work from home more, because I know that people waste a lot of time traveling to work and so on, and I think people working from home is a good thing, and as long as the communications are good and you've got the systems in place, and you're in a business where you don't need to be sitting around a desk all day long, I think it can work. So I'm not too scared by that, and I think the market research industry can cope with that as a way of working, at least for
Mm,
now.
okay, I understand. Now, during this pandemic and period of self-isolation of every people around the world, an obvious game changer that is reaping the benefits is remote working tools and platforms, right? Now, as we adjust to life with the new coronavirus around us, our behaviors and habits are also changing. So my next question is, in the software market, who do you think the winners and losers will be?
I think that's a good question. I think I think this is in some ways an opportunity to take market research forward. I think there's a lot of good companies in market research, and there's some that are perhaps letting or living in the past and not moving forward. And perhaps I can perhaps illustrate that by perhaps an example that's something I know I'm very passionate about and specialize in. And anybody who reads my blog articles know that I occasionally rant about or make my opinions known about, is that I think that, you know, one of the things that market research has been slow to adopt is delivering information online, delivering dashboards, delivering reports online. Um, and I think what can come out of this is that people will by necessity want more information online, will want to work online because that's what we're having to do now. And yeah, if I've had a frustration in market research in the last perhaps 3-4 years, and I've written about quite extensively, it's that we haven't, as an industry, got good at delivering information the way that people really want it. We've got good at collecting it. We've got plenty of good online software from cheap, almost free software right through to expensive, highly sophisticated tools that are out there, but we haven't got particularly good at delivering data online and reporting online. And I think, you know, this is going to perhaps be yet another little push towards that, because we're going to get more familiar with working online, and people do want their data at their fingertips. And that's not to say there are some companies out there that are working towards this, but I think we're far from being perfect or, you know, scoring 10 out of 10 on this. So I think there will be some changes, and you know, I think it will be the companies that can produce the next sort of wave of technology, or technology that actually saves some money. So, you know, as an example there, I think, you know, there are some, to go back to my example of online dashboarding, because it's something I do work in quite closely, and you know, I know there's some companies that deliver online dashboards already. They tend to be outside the market research sphere, but they're highly priced and highly expensive and not really appropriate to most market research projects. Maybe the big tracking studies, but not and small to average size market research projects. And I'm seeing now tools that are coming out, and we're involved in one of those, as you know, that are enabling that, so that, you know, everyone now can afford to do online dashboarding. And I think that's something that will grow. And I think, you know, the companies that are going to come strongest out of this in the software market are going to be the ones that can either offer something new and are innovative, or they can do something that we're doing already but do it at maybe half the price, because they're the what people want to do, and people will want to cut their costs when they come back online in or come back into the business in whatever it is, a few months time.
That's a good point. Anyway, I have a question. Since MRDC is doing good right now, how it changed MRDC over marketing strategy?
It's undoubtedly made a change. I mean, we planned over the next 4 months to launch 3 new products, and we already have given that quite a big rethink, and we're making the launches much softer now. So we're introducing ideas about how people might work, rather than doing sort of what I call traditional scheduled marketing campaigns. So it has changed the way we work, and you know, I see that we don't know how long this is going to go on, but let's, for example, say this is going to go on for 3 to 4 months, which a lot of the commentators are saying it will do. I see this as an opportunity to get ideas out there and to discuss them with clients, potential clients, so that, yes, we want to benefit. Obviously, we want to be in a strong position when we come out of this. But, to put ideas to potential clients and for our clients to come out of it strong as well, and to have better ways of working or new tools and better, give them more choice at how they approach their market research project. So, I'm sort of going back a bit to what I referred to in what Janet Murray said. We're not freezing by any stretch of the imagination. We're looking to run a series of webinars now, which will be quite short ones, not perhaps as glossy as the ones we do normally when we do one per month, but just try to get ideas out there to open up discussion so that, we can, if you like, albeit in a small way, contribute to strengthening the industry when it comes out the other side. And I think all companies, not just market research companies, all companies should be trying to do some things that can take them forward in this fallow period. And that includes getting marketing material out there, getting information out there, writing some blog articles, writing some papers, just trying to contribute something to what will help the industry recover when we come out the other side of this. And I know there are people out there who are saying, oh, that's really insensitive, you shouldn't be writing these things at the moment or promoting yourself. I just disagree with that. And yes, you mustn't be insensitive to what's going on around the world, and that there's a lot of people and families suffering, but the world has to carry on, and we do need business to be successful at the end of this. And if there's one thing that that surprised me a little bit is that, and I think this will change over the coming weeks as it happens. I talked to the senior people at, I think, about 6 or 7 software companies like us in market research, and all of them are reporting that no one's taking trials of their software at the moment. There's some ongoing business with existing customers, but no one's taking trials. Now, I think the market research industry would actually gain, and I'm not just saying this as a software company myself, the market research industry would gain if they all actually did take a lot of trials now, because it's a good time to experiment and try some things out and look at ways that you can be more effective and efficient and productive when we come out the other side of this. So this is not just a selling exercise by me when I'm saying this for MRDC Software. I'm saying it for the whole of the software industry and market research, and for market research itself. I think it's a time to be proactive and try some things. If they don't work and you're not busy at the moment, well, you've just wasted a day of your time. It's when you're really busy that can be important. So yeah, I think trying things and trying to address it and taking it on is the most practical way. And as I say, I'm really echoing what Janet Murray said in her podcast there.
Okay. Anyway, Phil, we know that there's a lot of company now that they stop running their business because government did a quarantine like over a month at now. And the spread of this coronavirus has caused several of the most important tech conferences to be canceled, likely resulting in numerous missed partnership opportunities. Right now, in MRDC, how MRDC is operating during the coronavirus crisis?
Yes, I mean, I suppose there's sort of 2 or 3 sides to what we do. We've got a number of existing customers, obviously, who are using our software, and as far as I can tell, we can support them just as we always have done. We're all working from home, but that's fine. That doesn't really stop anything. So really, it's dealing with new prospects and new customers, and that has quietened down. As I said, all software companies are reporting that, and as I say, I see this as an opportunity for research companies to experiment and look at some other software. I'm sure most of those software companies, I haven't asked them, I can only speak for us, will offer free trials. We certainly offer free trials on our software. And to that end, what we're proposing over I think it's the next 8 weeks, is a series of short webinars. I think we call them the Quick Learn series of webinars, where we're addressing a specific topic each week. It'll be a 20 to 30-minute webinar, and mainly to just open up discussions on different aspects of market research. Sure, we want you to buy our software, there's no doubt about that, but it's not a selling exercise. It's really to open up and explore things that are problematic to the industry, and to look at things that can be perhaps improved in the future. And as I say, this is an opportunity, I think, for companies to explore these sorts of things. And then with our MRDCL software, we've got a big user base of people around the world, and MRDCL as a product is one of those products where there's always something more that you can learn. And we had a plan this year to run a masterclass series, running one hour long webinar each every 2 months, I think it was. We've now brought that back to doing one a month while it's a quieter period. So we'll be running one a month of an MRDCL masterclass. So again, we can hopefully take our current users and any prospective users who are interested in finding out more up to the next level, so that when they do come back to working normally, they can hopefully be a bit more productive and have the benefits of more knowledge and so on.
Mm-hmm. How do we ensure that when life goes back, our prospective or existing customers will still be the highest value partnership, or we can still give them what they need after this pandemic?
Yeah, I think it's a good, I've sort of alluded to this a bit already about it's a good chance to explore, but I think I love being challenged in business, and this is true in personal life and in my business life. I think the businesses that will do best and get most from us, and that's perhaps all I can speak about, are the ones that challenge us the most. And I actually sort of, one of the reasons for our short webinar, or the short webinars that we're planning to run each week, is to open up discussions and to encourage people to challenge us to be better and to do better things. So, I see this as a, I am a glass half full person, I know. But, I see this, although I see it as a very serious crisis for the whole industry and tough for MRDC as well at the moment. I see it as a chance to explore and challenge, and I really do welcome people challenging me and sort of changing us as a company and saying, if we did this, can you do this? Because that will give us a chance to survive when we restart business, whenever that might be in the near future. And I think that's something that the industry could benefit from. We don't challenge each other because we all like to keep our secrets from each other in business, I know. But, it's one of the reasons I like going to conferences, because it's one thing where we do challenge each other a bit more. But, I think we're in a position here where nearly every company is going to suffer to some extent as a result of this. And to pretend you're not and pretend that you're strong and we're not going to suffer from it, I think is just, almost a fallacy. I mean, I'm just talking about my personal life. I know I've tried to order a couple of things online from companies, and I've been much happier with a company that told me, look, I think I can get it to you in a week's time, but I can't promise, rather than the company who told me they could get it to me the next day, and every day they're telling me it'd be another day delay. I think it's a time for honesty, and challenging what can be done, and looking to explore things. And I as a sort of slightly a tangent to this, is that one thing I do it is a small sideline, is that I act as an advisor to a small number of local businesses. It's something I spend about less than half a day a week on, but I do work with a small number of local businesses as an advisor. And I've seen them sort of scared and freezing, and I said to them, all of them, I said, look, just do something, try something new, look at something new, try and imagine what your clients are going to want when they come out the other side. And the sorts of things they're going to want are something new that they can offer their clients if they've got clients beyond them, um, or they want to be able to do something cheaper. And I think one of the things that I've just written a blog article about, which I think is going to be published in the near future, is there's been a big sort of thing, if you like, that you read on the internet everywhere, where the customer experience, you've got to exceed the customer expectations, and this is sort of it's almost like the doctrine of the 2020 era, if you like. I think that's going to change. I think we're going to be looking at an era where we're going to accept good enough for a while. And I never totally believed that you had to exceed expectations, actually, because I don't think a lot of things that I do when I'm buying things and so on, I don't necessarily expect expectations to be exceeded. I expect things to be good enough. But I think we really are going to move into an era of good enough. And that might sound very negative, and then I'm sure a lot of market research agencies won't want to go out there and saying, well, what the market research we're going to offer now is good enough, because it's quite a scary thing to admit that. But actually, I think in the real world, delivering good enough is going to be what people are going to accept for quite a while now, and that will reflect in all aspects of life, and to bring it back to market research, in the market research industry. So I think there are going to be some changes, but as far as helping our clients and potential clients, I'd like them to challenge us, and if they can think of something that they think would help them, and there's something we can do to that's viable, that we can make their business better, I'd like to hear from them, because I think this is a really good opportunity to to open up discussions, and rather than perhaps go to the format where a conference someone lectures you for 30 minutes and you get to ask 2 or 3 questions, actually to just have discussions about things and see if the industry can come out stronger.
That's a good point. With regards to the software that MRDC had, how is MRDC's CYS launch affected by the coronavirus outbreak?
Yes, well, it came at just the wrong time. The lockdown in the UK, I think, was the same day as our webinar, or certainly one day different, I think. And for obvious reasons, we've had to pull back on that a little bit. That's not to say, I think it is an opportunity to people to explore this more fully, and rather than perhaps sort of running marketing campaigns that we've actually stopped our marketing campaign that we planned, and rather than perhaps trying to do broadcasts of information, I'm trying to, if you like, push us into looking at one-to-one communication with potential clients, and getting clients to say to them what will be, or how can we help your business when we come out the other side. So yeah, the launch of CYS, it is available now. So if anybody wants to do manage complex data, merge data together from different surveys or different sources, other business data, and put it into online dashboards, that's something that we're now offering, and our development is continuing with our own software, so that we're linking that so that it can be fully automated in the latter part of this year. So that's all still carrying on, but we by necessity, a lot of people aren't thinking about that now. It's not the first thing on their mind, and I think different people will come back at different speeds to start thinking about what business is all about. And I know from my personal life that there's a lot of people, when I answer the phone to them, the first thing I talk about to them is football or something else. It's nothing to do with or business, or or meeting for a beer or something. The first topic you talked about with everybody at the moment is coronavirus, and that's the topic of conversation at the moment. But that will gradually, of course, become less of a topic of conversation. It'll still be just as serious, but we are already, I've noticed on LinkedIn, for example, that for 1 week every post bar 1 or 2 was about coronavirus, and that's starting to change now. Over this week, I've noticed there's a change in what's coming out, And I think, we will get used to this being an issue, because it's going to go on for, I suspect, at least 2-3 months and possibly more. And people will at different speeds come back to thinking about their business and how they can move it forward. And at the right time, we will push forward again with our launch of the CYS platform, so that clients can deliver data economically in dashboards and online. And the big thing I think we're trying to do is to close that gap between market research and business intelligence, which I see as a big gap at the moment, because that's what the CYS platform is about. It's about closing market research and business intelligence together, and allowing you to put research data alongside other business data, so that execs and the managing director, whoever it might be, have that data at their fingertips. So yeah, I think we have to be pragmatic about that and slow that down and deal with it slightly differently to what we planned. But yeah, we'll still go ahead with the CYS launch, and anyone who wants to find out about it and how it can benefit their business and their customers, we'll still be ready to help them, but obviously at their own speed, because every company's got its own internal matters to deal with at the moment. But I come back to my original thing. I think I said right at the beginning, I really do advise businesses not to freeze at the moment. Do something, even if you're making a few mistakes, because this is, as I said at the beginning, this is an unusual situation. We've never experienced it before, and I think it's okay to make mistakes. I always think it's okay to make mistakes, because but doing nothing is worse than not learning. And I think it's businesses generally should be looking to do things, and if they make a few mistakes on the way, so be it. Let's try and get in a stronger position when we come out of this.
Right. And I'm sure that everyone is waiting for a major launches this year. Now, Phil, do you see a bigger change in market research as a result of coronavirus outbreak? What do you think about this?
It's a good question. I've got a feeling we will. I cited at the beginning one of the countries that might suffer significantly at the moment are countries like Indonesia, Thailand, where SMR report that over 50% of surveys are pen and paper interviews. That might take some time before that can restart, and I can see a greater movement to online data collection, because that can go on. Online communities are something that can keep going on at the moment, and people actually probably have got more time on their hands to take part in online communities at the moment.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of people sitting around, I know, in the UK at the moment who don't know what to do with themselves. They're already fed up with television, and so people are more willing to make a contribution in some way, and I see these sorts of things as things that might come out of this and change the way or the shape of market research. And I see that on a I talked to somebody I know in the business, who runs a mainly online company, but virtually all their research is online. And I know at the moment they use one of the high-end products to do their online research, and they spend something like $60,000-$70,000 a year on that software to collect their interviews. And they've already had a rethink, and actually now times are going to be harder. They've already decided pretty much that 90% of their work only requires one of the other platforms that are much more cost effective, like a tenth of the price, that do exactly what they want. They may have 2 or 3 projects a year that need top of the range software for online surveys, because they want to embed it into websites, or it's got to have some pretty fancy tools to fit in with a corporate brand. But 90% of their work they could do in much cheaper software, and so products like Snap that can handle pretty much anything you want could come to the fore, because this particular prospect that I was speaking to was saying that they probably could save something like 80-90% of their costs by using a cheaper software that does the 90% of their projects, and actually subcontracting out the 2 or 3 that need some special programming skills. And I think that might happen. And people will be looking, as I said before, looking to buy good enough software that does what they want. And I've always been slightly skeptical of some of the top of the range online software data collection packages, because whilst they might be able to do have one or two features that some of the cheaper ones don't have, does it really matter? Because to my mind, online questionnaires are about, well, the quality of the questionnaire itself, which of course needs a good research agency to put the questionnaire together, but are more about clarity and not being boring to complete, and being the right length than anything else. And so, if you're using it, I'll be slightly facetious here, but if you're using a bit of software that doesn't let you put your logo in the top left-hand corner and makes it always be centered, does that really matter? I'm not suggesting any software does that, but sometimes, as this particular contact was saying to me, they feel actually when they looked at they analysed their expenditure on online software the last year, they actually were probably spending 80% of the money just for a few features that they didn't really need. And that doesn't make sense when you think about it, and times are harder. So I think there will be some changes. People will look for better value for money. They'll look for productivity. They'll look for innovation. I'm sure more and more will end up online, because we will get comfortable with working online. So talking about what you referred to earlier, and working at home, we will get better, I hope, at delivering data so people can get it online. There's a whole lot of things I think that can change. Online communities, of course, I mentioned as well. So there's a whole lot of things that can change and really make a difference. And I think the shape of market research could well change as time goes on now or after this. There's, I think people get comfortable doing things quite quickly. And I know, I'll give an example of that. I know in the early days when I used to do webinars, I felt very uncomfortable talking to a computer, and sort of felt it wasn't right. I didn't, sitting in a room talking to a computer didn't seem quite right. Now I've done, I don't know how many of them, probably quite a lot now, but I soon got very comfortable with that, and I don't feel anything strange about that now. It's just part of my daily or monthly life in what I do in my work, and it doesn't feel strange. And the same is people working online, working from home. People get very comfortable doing that once they've done it a few times. It does seem strange, talking to people online and seeing all their faces in little boxes on the screen at first, but once you get used to it, it's just another way of working, and we get good at doing it. So I don't imagine that some things will change, and I can't promise all those things will change, but I think there's going to be some changes, I'm sure, because we'll just get more comfortable in more situations and more able to work ways.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. And anyway, I just wanted to know your insights, because this question is for MRDC and to every company around the world, even in Asia. What do you think, or probably your steps, or can you tell us or share to everyone, every businesses, on how you can take today to mitigate or less the risk to every company born out of this coronavirus? How they can handle this one, pandemic virus for just this time?
I'm not sure what answer you want here, Nikki. I'll go do my best.
Yeah, sure, no problem. No pressure.
No pressure. I think there's sort of 2 or 3 things that have got to be addressed. I mean, the first thing that you have to try and do is to look after your staff. I know at MRDC we got really good people who work for us. I'm not just saying this, but I think this is the best team of people I've had to work with, probably in any time in the history of MRDC, and that goes back now to the 1990s, early 1990s. And I think, looking after your staff and doing your best and being honest with them and telling them where they are and how things are going, and listening to their ideas as well, because different people have different ideas. And I think it's a time where everyone should have a voice to say what they think's best for their job and their business they're working in. And likewise with customers, I think, we like to think that we listen to customers better than most other companies out there. But, I really like to be challenged even more on that. I really would like our customers, if anyone's listening to this, to actually say, well, these are 3 things you could do that would really help me. Can you help? Because I think we're in a position where we want to help each other here. And, I think the more we can do that and the more honest we can be, the stronger we're all going to come out of this. And I don't for 1 minute believe there's not going to be some casualties. I'm sure there's going to be some good companies that are going to be out of business in a year's time or less. But let's all do our best to try and pull through this, and take what opportunities we can out of it. There's a lot of bad news in the world at the moment from this pandemic, but let's try and make use of the time we've got and try and use it differently and be inventive and creative, and not freeze, which is the advice I've taken on board. And I'm trying myself to, my attitude to this is to just try and come up with as many ideas as possible, so that some of them will come to fruition and make MRDC Software a better company at the end of it. And I think, if everybody takes that approach, I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yes, right. Thank you for that. I'll take it from you. And anyway, Phil, thank you for that. I have here a very tough question for you. Actually, it's a 2 question remaining for you. What point does the protracted length of this problem start cause a devastating effect on the market research industry?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Yeah,
uh,
I told you.
I, if I'm honest, I don't know. I think it will affect different businesses at different speeds. As I said, those that are very hooked into certain markets are likely to struggle more quickly than others. I don't know, and I suppose I don't know what reserves different companies have got to see through this, and I don't know how quickly market research will pick up afterwards. I mean, I've been through recessions before. There's been a few world recessions that I've worked through and have run businesses through, and market research has to some extent been one of the slowest to recover, because it's something that buyers of research can cut from their budgets more quickly perhaps than other things. They've got to produce whatever they produce and get them to market, but maybe market research can get left behind when it comes to setting budgets. I think that's changed a bit now. I think market research has widened from what it used to be 10, 15 years ago, in that market research was just, if you like, 15 years ago, just pen and paper questionnaires, getting people to fill the questionnaires in. Someone keyed them in, someone processed them, and someone produced results from them and wrote a report on it. That has changed now, in that there's a lot more smoothness to the operation and a lot more different things that can be done in market research. And so, for example, collecting undata online and delivering that back online is becoming more possible. Doing things like running things like online communities is an alternative. So there's a lot more alternatives out there now, and a lot more choice for buyers of research to buy something from the market research industry that is suitable for their needs. We're not just selling 1 or 2 products like we were 20 years ago, where we've got a whole range of different tools that can help people and companies get back on their feet as well. So how long, at what point it starts to become a huge problem for the market research industry. I can't judge that. I don't know, if I'm honest, and others may know better than me, but I really don't to feel qualified to answer that. All I think is we're probably a bit more agile than we were 10 years ago at being able to come back. And I just hope, obviously, like everybody else, in not just in market research, but from the many families of us who are obviously struggling at the moment, who have people working in other industries outside market research, that the whole world recovers very quickly. But that's a difficult question, and I'm sure if I made a prediction there, someone would say to me in a year's time, "Well, you got that wrong." So I'm gonna duck out that question.
Thank you for that, Phil. And anyway, of course, finally, I have a very toughest question for you, but I think you can answer this. When it comes time to reflect about what you learned during this time and how to apply those insights going forward, during this coronavirus, what did you learn about ourselves, yourselves, our business, our priorities, how we work, how we compete, and how we deliver value to our clients? And of course, what we can do over the next 6 months to institutionalize those insights so that we're noticeable better all the time, whether operating in business as usual or in crisis circumstances?
Well, I'm going to answer that in a short way. There's a lot of questions in there, but my ethos has always been to be honest and to be open and to try and communicate as best I can. That doesn't mean I'm always a good communicator. And I think, I think we should all really try to be honest and communicate as best we can over the coming months, and so that we can look back on not just a better world, but actually, be in a position so that we are able to push ourselves forward personally in business and everything. And it's a slightly short answer to a big question you asked me there, but I think being adaptable, being prepared to try things, take some risks, not be scared of getting something wrong, it is really important in this era. Certainly all the people who work for MRDC Software, I've already encouraged them and be continuing to encourage them to try some things out, take some risks, do something. If you waste 2 days of your time trying something, it doesn't matter, because at the end of it, I want us to be in a strong position so that we can, really push forward and, come out well out of this. And I think that's, that should be true of everybody, whether it's your personal life or your business life. Don't try and shut down. If you want to do something, that think what you can do to contribute. That might be a special skill of yours. It might be writing a paper on something you've always wanted to explore. It might be doing, but do it, and don't freeze. Try not to freeze, and try and find something that's an outlet that allows you to, give something, or either give something back now or give something back in the future, or offer something more in the future. So, I think it's about there's not that we're fairly hemmed in on what we can do at the moment. Most of us are stuck in our houses or have different restrictions depending on where we are in the world. But so there's choices are limited, but let's try and make the most of what choices we got, so that when we do get our choices back in the foreseeable future, we can come out of that as strong as possible.
Great. Thank you for that answer, Phil. Thank you for sharing with us your thoughts all about the effects of this coronavirus to every businesses and how we can cope up on this crisis. And it is very helpful to everyone here. Now, but of course, I will not end this without knowing more about you. Yeah, can you share with us, Phil, what is your favorite food?
Oh, okay. Time for honesty. It would have to be Asian, because I've spent a lot of my life traveling around Asia. I suppose when I was younger, I would have said Indian food.
Wow.
but I'm getting a bit old now, and I can't take the big meals like I used to. So I would probably say it has to be Thai food now. I do love Thai food, and yeah, I'd probably pick Thai food as my number one nowadays.
How about in the Philippines? What food? What favorite food do you want?
Oh dear, do you know what
Do
I'm
you know
gonna?
adobo?
I do know adobo. Do you know what? I hate to say this. I'm not particularly keen on Filipino food, really. But there you
Mm.
go. But I'm not particularly keen on English food either. So I'm fair, you know.
That's fine. That's fine. Anyway, Phil, this is the last question. I know I have lots of questions for you today, but can you share with us lastly what is your favorite country to visit? I know that you have lots of country visited already, but can you share me one of your favorite country?
All right. Well, I think I've visited 60 countries now.
Yeah, right.
Um, and having said that Filipino food wasn't the best in the world, or nearly, I think I said that more or less, I'm going to vote for the Philippines here. So, and I'm not just saying that because you're a Filipino. I'm saying that because it's just such a great country to visit. I love traveling around. I've been around much of the Philippines now, and everywhere I've gone, I've always been very welcome, and I've just found it a beautiful country to travel around, and the people are so great, and it's not a coincidence that we've got a team working in the Philippines for MRDC Software, um, and if I can, yeah, I'll say two things about that, and they are connected. It's true to say in that the people who work for us in the Philippines are really the most conscientious, hardworking people I know, um, and really are good at their work. And you know, I did perhaps have some reason for setting up in the Philippines. I like traveling around there so much, but yeah, it is both things. Yeah, I do like the country, and I've always enjoyed traveling around it, and I'll continue to do so as long as I can. So Philippines has got my vote on that one. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, great. Anyway, thank you for that. And of course, beaches here in the Philippines is good. You must visit that anytime. Anyway, Phil, thanks for sharing that to us. And I wanted to say thank you again, Phil, for having you in this podcast.
No, it's been great.
With with this topic of coronavirus effect in every businesses. And thank you everyone for taking time to listen our topic today. And till next time. Okay? Bye for
Thank-
now. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.